Like to talk to you today about my CJ7 and conditional love. Years ago, I was working construction and it was highly stressful. And I needed some kind of outlet. And there were guys on the job site, they were part of a Jeep club. And I got inspired by this. And I thought, I need some off-road therapy. So it took me about a month of negotiation after I found this thing. And I finally purchased it. I went through this whole thing from stem to stern to try to find out what was wrong, and kind of got things situated. Every week I would work really hard to get it ready for the run, and the whole time praying that God would get me there and get me back. And I found out that there was something bizarre that was happening. Is not only was I working on this, but I was really anxious about making sure that everything in my life was right. I didn't want to do something wrong during the week and God curse me and me be stranded out in the desert or in the hills somewhere. And so I became super vigilant to inspect not only the Jeep, but my life. And it occurred to me that this was akin to superstition. And I tried to figure out, where did this come from? Well, you may be experiencing this sort of thing, to where you have taken and you ascribe some of the characteristics that you have in your human relationships with your relationship with God. This is exactly what I did. If there's someone in your life that is very anxious and a perfectionist, say a parent, that now projects all of this on you, to where if you don't perform well, and you don't do well, then they don't look well as a parent, and so now you've got all that anxiety. You're going to embody that, and you may even ascribe that to God. And so I had to really work through this and really understand that, God loves me regardless. This is what in the Greek we understand as agape or agape love, and this is unconditional love. It only comes from God and not man. It's not like phileo love that's a 50-50 love. This is unconditional love. And we find ourselves today in Psalms 78. It's an absolute beautiful psalm. It talks about how the Israelites were in their wilderness wanderings and how they fluctuated in their relationship with God, but God never did. He had to do some things to draw them back, and it's interesting what he has to do to draw them back. But let's take a look in Psalm 78, verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. And then verse 6 says, they should arise and declare them to their children. Why? Verse 7, that they might set their hope in God. Verse 8, that they would not be like their fathers, a generation who set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. And so we see that in verse 10 it says that they did not keep the covenant of God, and they refused to walk in his law. Why? Verse 11, because they forgot his works, and so they strayed away. Now, this becomes a major issue for Israel, and God knows his people. And he knows that when he takes care of them and when everything's good and when they're at ease, that they have a tendency to stray away from them. So what does he do? Well, in verses 34 and 35, we see that he brings hard times on them. The hard times that he brings on them causes them to really evaluate themselves and come back to him. Well, I got this for, yes, some off-road therapy, but also this is a rock crawler, and so the intent of this is to take it to extremely difficult situations and find the weak link. What happened, take this to difficult situations to find the weak link, This took me to difficult situations and found the weak link in difficult